Welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne. Today, I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Panos Kostopoulos. Now, Panos is the founder and CEO of Proxy Foods. That's an AI-powered platform enabling food and beverage companies to efficiently create new or optimize existing recipes by merging data science, food science, and software engineering. At Proxy Foods, he leads the charge to accelerate product innovation, to streamline formulation, and bring healthier, better for you food options to the market. With a background in chemical engineering and food biotechnology, Panos brings more than a decade of experience across biotech, food R&D, and product development. His expertise spans fermentation, plant-based and cell-cultivated foods, conventional agriculture, and food systems. In parallel to his startup work, Panos co-founded two nonprofit organizations focused on advancing cellular agriculture and expanding food tech innovation globally. One of his core missions is to view food as more than nourishment and as a platform for health, sustainability, and positive impact. He is dedicated to helping brands deliver foods that not only taste great, but also support wellness, reduce animal impact, and drive meaningful change in how we feed the planet. So Panos, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me. I'm very happy to be here and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So you've got such interesting, deep expertise in so many diverse areas. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of background and sort of tell your story of what brought you to where you are today and how you wound up there at Proxy Foods?
Yes, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Athens, Greece, as you could probably guess from my accent and my name. And since a very young age, I was very intrigued by engineering systems and how we could build different devices. How do you take inputs, you process them, and you have an output of added value? So I knew I wanted to be an engineer since a very, very young age. Even I didn't know what exactly I want to do. I just wanted to building things, understanding system design thinkings and how do we add value through smart manufacturing and engineering optimization. So after some years this happened, I went to study as a chemical engineer in Athens, Greece, in the National Technical University of Athens. And some years later, I realized the importance of food. And these are like three things. If you think about it, what am I going to eat? It's the most universally frequently asked question. If you are in Greece, if you are in the US, if you are any nation or any animal, dogs, cats, fungi, bacteria, we all nourish ourselves. So our collective decisions affect the output and they affect the health of our planet, the health of ourselves, but also the ability of future generations to feed themselves in a sustainable and healthy way. So that was a pretty big realization, and this happened after living with a dog that a black lab puppy that we adopted back in the day. And I ended up living with it and really shaped my perspective about the cycle of carbon, the cycle of energy, and understanding how much energy and building blocks were moving through the food system. So you understand that it has great implications on how we build relationships, you know, from going to a nice dinner for a date, for a family Sunday meal with your family, to watching your favorite sports team. Food is a centerpiece on how we grow, how we evolve, and fundamental infrastructure of our civilization. So good enough reasons to focus on food, but I was a
Yeah.
chemical engineer, and I was like, okay, what can I do as a chemical engineer? And the closest thing I could do to get into this space was biotechnology. So I stopped what I was doing and I focused solely on biotech, and I started on various techniques, both on labs for innovation and R&D projects, but also for conventional food projects. And I decided I wanted to move to the US to maximize the chances of having a positive impact on this world. I studied in Georgetown University. I did masters in biotechnology with focus in food. In parallel, I started the two nonprofit organizations, the network of CELAG and the CELAG Greece, that helps with boosting innovation of food technological advancements, including cellular agriculture, fermentation, cell-cultivated meat, recombinant proteins, and similar technologies. So I moved to the US. I studied biotech at Georgetown. My program director, she applies me to an entrepreneurship competition called Bark Tank, where we
Okay.
won first prize, and this is where I met my now co-founder and lead investor and director, Ted Leonsis, who was the sponsor of this prize. At the same time, we had my two other co-founders, Dimitris and Petros. Petros brings the AI background. Dimitris connects us with Petros and has an experience with B2B SaaS on the F&B side through a platform they have. So that's a high level overview, how we end up where we are.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing some really interesting things there at Proxy Foods. For those of us that are listening that want to kind of understand it at a high level, knowing that a lot of it's pretty technical, like what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis? Like what does the company do and accomplish for?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the company does in simple language, and then I'll tell you from day to day what I do because these are not
Sure.
100% aligned.
Sure.
So the company is helping food and beverage companies like brands, CPGs, food
Mm-hmm.
service operators create new products, new recipes, or optimize existing ones. So you can say, I want to create a new plant-based ice cream, or I want to
Okay.
create a normal ice cream, but a conventional ice cream, but I want to replace sucrose, sugar, with another ingredient. So it's a
Okay.
platform where food product developers, food and beverage companies that create any kind of food, they can put the request and the platform will give them the ingredients, their weights, and the processes. How do they have to process these ingredients to end up with the result? At the same time, we're gonna give them predictions on nutritional value, flavor, shelf life, regulatory compliance, functional properties, cost, and other components. So you can think of it like the Canva, but for the food scientists, like an R&D dedicated platform that accelerates new product development and optimization through reformulation of existing products.
And so if I can say that back maybe another way, just to make sure that I've got it, is it's almost like a simulator for developing recipes and food, because you could say, well, I want to take an ice cream like a typical ice cream, but replace some of these ingredients or try out other different types of ingredients which maybe have lower carbon footprint or maybe have longer shelf life or maybe are less expensive or are more premium and are known to have a higher taste, and then run through different iterations of that in a sort of simulated software AI enabled environment to then determine what's going to have the right inputs from both sort of nutritional as well as a cost, and then what's going to have the right outputs in terms of both potentially flavor profile as well as shelf life and even sort of the what you could charge for it. Is that right?
You explained it even better than I did.
Well, that's great. It's so interesting and so exciting. And so your role there as the CEO, where do you spend most of your time on a day-to-day basis?
So I'm a technical founder,
Yeah,
meaning that this is a problem that I experienced myself for more than a decade. So my time based on that is spent both on technical applications and solutions, but also non business related. Um, so usually I wake up, and because we are in the US and we have a subsidiary in Athens, Greece, and we have companies from Europe, all of my mornings are booked with meeting
yeah,
and like putting off fires and stuff like this.
sure.
So a lot of meetings, strategy, business development, operations, and team alignment, and various activities, and usually many meetings. Even though I'm trying to minimize them, and those are probably as short as possible, you still need to, connect with from customer success to uh, business development to technical solutions to trying new features to many of these things. After some time, around 3 or 4 p.m., um, usually my calls start at 7:30 or 8 a.m. Eastern time, and it is they go up to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. I finish. I usually have lunch, and then I go to the office. Usually I'm having the calls in my home office here, and then I go to the office where we have in DC. There I continue work, but now I do more about replying emails and stuff where I don't have many calls. Then I'm trying to work out around 8 p.m. And from 9 to 12 or 1 a.m., it depends, sometimes 2, 3, depending, sometimes less, I do more about technical solutions and high level strategy. So more about the whiteboard, being by myself in a quiet space. Um, so this is a standard day for me. So it usually goes meetings to emails to technical solutions and high level strategy.
That's a pretty packed day.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not super
That's a
sustainable. It's not as sustainable as the foods we want to help our company get.
Yeah, that definitely seems like that could wear you out. You must have some good nutrition to fuel all that work going in. So, a lot of our audience is entrepreneurs and founders and folks that are running companies, and they're dealing with some of the challenges that you've overcome and that they're dealing with, specifically as it pertains to how to grow. And I know you've got some specific ideas and have some insights even on, you know, you as a technical person, but also as the, sort of CEO and founder, you carry a lot of weight in, sort of in sales, and you've seen the role that technical people can play in sales. Talk to us a little bit about, some of what your experience has been in that space as both a technical founder who's also working to grow the business and think about driving those sales and some of the pluses and minuses of that and advice you might give to other technical founders who are also in that role of trying to grow the business.
Yes. So I'll start from that. As a technical founder or technical person, you have an advantage that especially if you're selling to other technical people, you can speak their language. You're not the high level salesperson that whenever a question gets tricky, you have to call or revert back. You combine both the commercial aspect and the
Hmm.
deep dive technical aspect. And from my understanding, it's easier to go from the technical to commercial understanding than do the vice versa. So you might be a great salesperson, but it will take some time to understand how chemistry works.
Right.
And yes, so this is also a disadvantage because you don't have much experience selling and commercializing and to understand um, the dynamics of deals, the flow of information, how do you secure and how do you convert and how do you consolidate the feedback that you take to use it effectively to improve your pitch, to improve your feature, to improve your platform, to improve any of the activities. However, as an engineer and a technical person, you know how to solve problems. So you have to apply what you know to kind of optimize the process. So the unique benefit that you have is that you can speak technical language, especially if you're selling to technical people. The disadvantage is that you haven't probably done it before. Most of your time is with a white coat or by yourself in a laptop, and you're thinking of solving problems with a small team, more of like a becoming from an introvert to extrovert, and more of like a dynamic system that you need to adapt. Now, regarding sales, the most important thing is to understand the value proposition and the market segment and the end user. Who are you selling to, and why do they care? What's their biggest pain point that you're trying to solve? What is this something? What do you offer that these people want? Very high level, simple questions, but the essence of understanding these questions will help you navigate um, towards the sales. And of course, very different to build programmatic, robotic sales for a software as a service, low cost. You go on App Store or you go online and you do Google Ads and you're trying to build this kind of pipeline than to do enterprise sales, where it's very, very different process. The one is more like the one you need, and we can talk about how the enterprise uh, very different pipelines. That's why it's very important to understand, and we can go about the details, what are the differences, but it's very critical to understand who are you selling to, because you cannot effectively sell to both, especially in the beginning where you have limited resources and you have limited financial resources, limited time, and you have to be very, very specific. Are you selling to the big enterprises or the small ones? Now, you may not know to who to sell in the beginning, and that's perfectly fine, but you have to do the exercise. And this can be an A/B test, or this can be just talking to people to understand who do you want to sell to. And this go back to, okay, can I sell to this enterprise? And then do this exercise. What it means, the number of companies times the revenue times the investment and the effort you need. And if that matches with number one, your revenue targets, and number two, strategically, are there any benefits to collaborate with these enterprises that they need white glove treatment and handling? Or maybe it doesn't make sense and you prefer to have other strategic advantages. And this also has to do with the moat that you're trying to build, which rapidly changes with the AI as for the moment.
Yeah. So that's an interesting, sort of challenge that a lot of companies run up against, which is, having to choose which niche or which segment of the marketplace they're going to really address. Because just as you said, if you try to straddle both, you'll sort of, what's the old phrase? The guy who chases two rabbits catches neither. And so the idea that you have to sort of make a choice. I'm curious, in the evolution of Proxy Foods, was that something that you sort of set out and did some analysis and kind of thinking about and picked your marketplace and then went after it? Or did you, sort of find yourself evolving as you started to get traction with one market segment versus another? How did you make that choice there with Proxy Foods?
So of course you do an analysis,
Yeah.
and of course it's gonna be wrong, most likely. And then you're gonna validate it with the market. So the assumption we had in the beginning was that we would go to smaller companies to help them because they didn't have the R&D, they didn't have all this infrastructure, we didn't have the powerhouse that we offer them. What are
Right.
all these change makers that they have great products, but they don't know how to commercialize them, how to go from their bench top to the shelf. However, we saw when we started that we received great inbound interest from big enterprises.
Really?
Yes, and we saw that the smaller companies, many of those, they have lower survival rate. Many
Yeah.
of those, they didn't have the innovation departments to find us, so it has to be an outbound to find them. And many of those, they didn't have the budget or even the time to
Yeah.
adopt. With many startups, they're just trying to survive. So even if you tell them like you're trying to dig this hole, take this shovel, and they say, I don't have time for that. I need to finish that. So um, very early on, and market derived, we saw that larger companies than we were expecting to reaching out to us, and we did our first deals with some enterprises companies very early on. So that was a market-derived strategic decision. And
Yeah.
then, okay, what about the smaller companies? It's easier to go from the enterprise to the smaller segment than to do the opposite.
That's right.
Because with the enterprise, it's like the full wedding. Like you have to meet their families, they have to meet you, they have to do like a check of your background, of your friends, of everyone. It takes some time, and then at some point, you're getting married, and then you live together, and you have to do all of these things. Um, and with smaller companies, it's more about, you can remove some of the things. Maybe they don't have to meet your parents. Maybe they don't have to, as part of this arrangement. But the big enterprises are not going to give you the volume that maybe is very useful for multiple
Hmm.
reasons, depending on the industry. So it's not only market what will happen, even though I think this is the best way to approach it because you don't know how the market will react. But there is a level of strategy based on how do you imagine your company in 5 years, in 3 years, in 10 years, that should be a weighted contributor to this decision.
That's right. Well, but as sort of so smartly point out, though, you have to respond to the realities of what take place in the marketplace. So, although your original thesis was that you would be this outsourced, sort of research R&D department for smaller companies, once you saw the interest from larger companies, you recognized the opportunity and then adapted to that so that you could sort of service that need and take advantage of the opportunity you saw in the market.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Like the best thing you can do as a startup, the only thing that we have against the other companies is speed and execution.
Yeah.
And why this matters, these are coupled because you have the speed of validation and quick execution. So you can try 5 different market segments in 1 week and you can ship features almost every day. You can have like a daily sprints. With big companies, for many
Just
reasons, they
can't do
cannot do that. And it's like, when do you turn from being a pirate to Navy? The
it.
Navy, they
Yeah.
have all these structures, they have them for a very good reason, but they cannot be as agile and they cannot take these quick decisions. So, sorry. So in the beginning, the advantage that you have is like go and try the market. The market validation like is the real strategic advantage we as a startup we should fight for, and quick feedback, the platform of quick iteration, see what works and adapt.
Yeah. So smart. So smart. Well, you're obviously an expert in a lot of really interesting areas, very diverse from business to biotechnology and even data science and AI. But I got to be mindful of your time. I can't, monopolize you all day. But before we let you go, what's something on the horizon for you or Proxy Foods that you're excited about that you're looking forward to?
uh, of many things. So we're going to release the new version of our platform
Uh-huh.
in about a few weeks. So I don't know when this is going to be aired. So depending. So
Sure.
we're releasing a new version of the platform. We're gonna mention some great collaborations that we have done. And this new version will come with many great updates, including processing modeling, which took many years of work and a lot of data from equipment, machinery to understand the critical parameters and how the different ingredient compounds and molecules interact with each other and under specific and environmental conditions. We're gonna announce our new funding round, and we're going to some key partnerships. So it's going to be and the new industry segment that we're going to expand to. And we're going to get closer also to the food as a medicine. We have some great work we're doing there, and an expansion towards the food service area. So these are some of the things that we're really excited about.
That's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon for sure. So for our audience that's listening and wants to learn more about, Proxy Foods or about you, what's the best way for them to engage?
LinkedIn, they can add me, reach out, send me a message. I reply to most of those, not always on time, but well, I think they can follow Proxy Foods and they can see the things that we're updating, but also my personal profile, and I'm happy to connect and help whoever wants to reach out, and if I would be able to help too.
Well, thank you so much, Panos, for taking the time to join us. I certainly learned a lot today, and I know our audience did too.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope your audience and you found it helpful, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.